Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back here today with not a political video, but one of my passions, if you will, which is baseball. And this is, when I'm recording it, is a few days since Willie Mays passed, so rest in peace, Willie Mays. As it says, Willie Mays was the greatest living baseball player. And I was originally going to do an article from Outkick that said, with Willie Mays passing, who is now the greatest living ball player? And unfortunately, our Outkick removed the article for some reason. It doesn't exist anymore. So I searched around on the internets and found a Barstool article that kind of goes over the same sort of stuff. So this is the Barstool Sports article that we're going to go over, and it's from June 19th. So again, we're going to go into who currently is now inherits the title of the greatest living baseball player. And here's a picture from the all-time great Willie Mays catch, the overhead catch. And yeah, as someone that used to play baseball, not at any sort of at professional level whatsoever, but certainly in Little League and high school, this is not the kind of catch you can teach to somebody. This is just something that happens. And I've tried to catch over my head like that before. It is exceedingly difficult. And I'm not sure I ever did it in a game. I might have done it with just throwing the ball around with friends before, and batting practice once, maybe twice. But it is very difficult to do. So yes, I understand the difficulty of this catch, and it deserves to be up there as one of the greatest catches of all time. Full-on sprint after it, catching a ball over your head, not an easy thing to do. This says, greatness is a term that is thrown around far too loosely. I am guilty of it myself. We're too quick as a society to bestow that term on anything from dinner to a job done moderately well, but we rarely ask ourselves what it means to be great, even beyond that, to be inarguably great. Willie Mays was a great baseball player. Correct. It says, we may argue where he stacks up on a list of other men who are also inarguably great, but we will undoubtedly come to the same conclusion that Willie Mays was great at playing baseball. This greatness was also not for a short time. Mays played in the major leagues for 22 seasons. Well, must that feel like to be that wonderful at something for so long? Yeah, I've never had that in my entire life, but yes, Willie Mays, I looked at his stats after he passed away. I mean, I'd seen him before, but just kind of looking at him now, and it was just yeah, this dude was so good for so long, it's not even funny. So it says, the actress Tallulah Bankhead once said that there are only two geniuses who have ever lived, William Shakespeare and Willie Mays. Nice, both Willies. Or Willie, was he a Willie or a William Mays? I don't know, but both Wills, if you will. Says Mays has been lauded as the greatest living baseball player since Ted Williams died. That time limit is wrong because Mays was better all along. He was also better than Joe DiMaggio, who held that title before Teddy Ballgame. Mays was better than Mickey Mantle, too. This isn't recency bias because Mays just passed. The cold, hard numbers agree as well. And yes, I would agree. And I'm not sure why Joe DiMaggio is necessarily even in that conversation. His numbers sort of pale in comparison to even Ted Williams, and definitely to even Mantle and Mays. So, I mean, I've never gotten the whole Joe DiMaggio trend. I don't mind the guy, but I was just why is he on that list kind of thing? But okay. But Teddy Ballgame, yeah. But yeah, this is definitely correct. Whoa, ad just popped up out of nowhere. All right. It says, but yes, this is correct that Mays was better than all of these guys. His numbers were just better. There's the man himself, and says, finding anyone better than Mays isn't easy. If you do find someone better, they come with asterisks. Let's use WAR. It stands for wins above replacement. And what it essentially means for people that don't know is it's trying to say that at least the numbers that you're seeing here for these characters, or players, I don't know why I said characters, like they're Bugs Bunny or something. This means that over the course, for example, of Barry Bonds' career, that his teams won an additional 162.8 or almost 163 games because of what he did. So it's kind of meant to be a be-all, end-all type stat to judge someone's value to the team that they provided or during their career. So, again, this is saying that Barry Bonds, his teams won 163 more games than they would have if he was not on the team. So that's a very good stat. So, let's see, against Barry Bonds at 162.8, Babe Ruth, may have heard of the guy, at 162.2, Willie Mays is at 156.2, Ty Cobb at 151.4, and Hank Aaron at 143.1. Of course, Babe Ruth is dead. Been dead for as long as my dad has been alive, so been since 1948. Ty Cobb is long dead as well, and Hank Aaron died a few years ago. So, well, if this is a list, it's, well, based on that, it's Barry Bonds, but let's keep going here because it's going to be more in-depth than that. It says Bonds was a fantastic player who also used PEDs. Thanks to the book Game of Shadows, which I've read, and it's an excellent book, because we know Bonds started using PEDs after the 1998 season when he was 33 years old. His total wins above replacement at that point was 99.9. Would he have caught Mays? I'd guess no. Bonds up until that point had never had a WAR of 10 in any season. He exceeded that 3 times from that point on. You can think Barry Bonds did nothing wrong by taking PEDs, but it's tough to argue that he was a better player than Willie Mays, who was also his godfather. And just so you know, a WAR of 10 is massive for any season. That's like you're having like an all-time great season, or it should be considered an all-time great season. I think the highest WAR of all time in a single season is like 13.4. Could be wrong about that, but it's something like that. So just so you know. And usually if someone's WAR is above 8, that means they're having like an MVP caliber season. So if it's above 10, you're having a phenomenal season. So keeping going on here, it says Ruth and Cobb played in a segregated league. I'm not blaming them, especially Ruth, for being born in the wrong year, but it remains true. And I hate that argument of being held against guys that played before integration, because it's like they didn't have anything to do with it. So why are we trying to hold that against them? You know, that just doesn't make sense to me. Because it's hard to say that they were better than Mays when they literally would not have been allowed to play against him before 1921. Again, you can't hold that against them. You just got to look at the stats. But that's what stats like WAR or 4 is, to kind of compare people over time and their value at the time that they played. So we can actually go ahead and say if they were better than him or not. And in fact, the WAR stat says that Babe Ruth was and Ty Cobb was not better than Willie Mays, and there you go. So it says before 1921, and there should be probably a period there, fans would also throw balls back to the umpires when it went foul. Oh, nice. I'd love to see that now. They probably, with some of the umpires, we have probably trying to like actually hurt the umpire. So they would often use the same ball for over 100 pitches. It was a sport trying to figure itself out. It wasn't the same game. And I actually didn't know that they did that, but that's still pretty interesting. This Willie Mays was beyond great. You can make a case he was the greatest, and you absolutely can. Because where does that leave us as baseball fans? Mays was 93 when he died. He last played in 1973. Excuse me. Unless you are nearly 60 years old, and I am nowhere near that, you probably don't remember Mays playing at all. He's been this looming legend for most of us. I'll hear younger people in the office speak of Nolan Ryan, and it's obvious they never sat through those 4 1/3 inning starts where we'd walk a bunch of guys. Maybe a legend only can exist when those who saw their flaws no longer walk the earth. And Nolan Ryan should not be on the list of the greatest baseball players or even pitchers of all time. He was good. He deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, but he was not one of these guys that should be in this discussion. So because I never saw Willie Mays play, am I fawning over him too much? I really don't think so. He was so obviously the greatest living ball player that it can be said with so much as even an odd look in your direction. But what? But now what? Who fills that hole? I wrote this blog last year, but now that we are living in it, I don't know if I can stand by it. Reality can be a cold splash in the face. And there's Pedro Martinez. Oh, and this is the article that he's living to. I thought he was just updating like the article I'm reading. But okay, there we go. The 10 greatest living ball players. So it says, I had Pedro Martinez number 2 on that list. And Pedro's numbers are ridiculous for a pitcher. Didn't win the most games of all time. Doesn't even matter. I mean, the guy was, he won 4 Cy Youngs in a row, or 3 out of 4 years, something like that. It was massive. And just he had a prime that he was near untouchable. He was great. So it says, can the greatest living baseball player be a pitcher? I don't see why not. It says, can it be Barry Bonds with the PEDs? Again, I've always said that I don't give a crap about the PEDs. Everybody was using them. Why are we holding Bonds to a different standard than everybody else? It says, can it be Ken Griffey Jr. despite the injuries in Cincinnati? Yeah, his career, if you go look, he had his first year in Cincinnati wasn't bad, but then it was like injuries until I think the year he went to the White Sox, where I think he had a pretty decent season, like a Griffey type season. But besides that, it was like his stuff was all kind of just pretty standard, but still Griffey probably should still be on that list. Maybe, but not as good as Willie Mays. He says, I thought I knew, but it ends up when it comes time to pay the bill, I'm left staring at my shoes with my wallet still firmly in my pocket. Because Willie Mays is just about the last of his group to go. Sandy Koufax is still around, but there aren't many legends left who played in the 1950s. Willie, Mickey, and the Duke are all gone. Most of the people who saw them and loved them are gone too. I adore baseball history, as do I, and feel a little fraudulent even writing this. He was retired for 6 years before I was born. I said he retired in 1973. It was 5 years for me. I only know Willie Mays as the legend, not the ball player. That is a title he wore for over 50 years with only grace and class. I can't imagine it's easy wearing a crown that heavy. Willie Mays is almost beyond a human in my eyes. He's an ideal. To be that gifted for such a long time, to play in the same orbit as guys like Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Duke Snider, and Frank Robinson, and still somehow rise above them is pretty incredible. And the greatest living ball player is gone. I don't know who takes that crown, or I don't know who now takes that crown. As the players left who could take that title all had flaws I saw firsthand. I don't look at them the same. If you're around my age, we didn't just lose Willie Mays, we just lost our last legend. And I want to just click on this really quick, his other article, where he said the top 10 greatest living baseball players. We're already putting Mike Trout on there, are we? So I'm just going to go through this pretty quick. Trout, Koufax, Roger Clemens, Ricky Henry. Yeah, Ricky for sure. Griffey is 6. Randy Johnson, Maddox, of course. Got a lot of pitchers on here. Then Bonds is 3. Pedro's 2. Who is number 1? Goes Willie Mays. Okay, so I guess he said Pedro. I don't know if Pedro necessarily moves up to number 1. I think Bonds has to kind of be your number 1. In terms of all-around ability, it's Barry Bonds, like easily, I think. But that's just me. So let me know what you guys think about this. Who do you think is the current greatest living ball player? Let me know in the comments below. I definitely want to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.